gave us from the very beginning. He created a band of brothers called to stand with Christ for our families and for those in need. We are Blessed Michael McGivney's spiritual heirs, and we must answer that call in new and renewed ways. And whether you're a member in Vancouver or Virginia, in Luzon or Lublin, on the March for Life in Mexico City, or on the front lines in Mariupol, Ukraine, our mission is the same, even if our specific roles are different. Today, I'd like to revisit those 5 goals to review the progress we've made and the progress we must make in the year ahead. First and foremost, we must strengthen Catholic men. This is the foundation for our success. As I like to say, if you get the man right, you get the family right, you get the parish right, and you affect the whole world. This is the fundamental mission of the Knights of Columbus. We empower Catholic men to live their faith and serve their family, parish, community, and country. And we are taking new steps to fulfill this mission. Many jurisdictions are presently beta testing a new gathering called the CORE meeting. CORE, which is spelled C-O-R, is Latin for heart. And the purpose of the CORE meeting is to get to the heart of the matter. The CORE meeting will form and strengthen Catholic men in faith and fraternity. It will be organized by the local council and will occur outside of the traditional council business meeting. It will be open to all men of the parish, creating an opportunity to meet non-knights and help them to become new knights. Each CORE meeting is built around prayer, fellowship, and faith formation. It's not only an opportunity to study the faith together, it will also provide ongoing opportunities for men to pray with other men and build bonds of friendship. We already know that young Catholics are searching for something like this. A major study recently found that 60% of Catholics between the ages of 18 and 35 participate in some kind of faith formation outside of Mass. This is a demographic we need to reach, and we have seen that efforts to do so are succeeding, especially at the parish level. My old parish is a case in point. The men's group there is vibrant, and it's even better attended than the KFC council meeting. Why is that? Because it's meeting young men where they are today. This is happening all too often. Men's groups are forming in parishes where there is a Knights of Columbus Council, because the council is just not meeting all the needs of the men of the parish. If we don't meet their needs, we know they will go elsewhere and miss out on everything the Knights of Columbus offers Catholic men and their families. We already know that we can reach the rising generation. Our Into the Breach video series has more than 1 million views, with 80% of those views coming from people under 35. And we're currently developing even more tools to reach and engage men. The CORE meeting will take our outreach to a whole new level. It will tap our existing infrastructure in more than 10,000 parishes. And it will introduce knights and non-knights alike to everything the order offers, from spiritual programs and charitable works to life insurance and other financial products. If your jurisdiction is part of the first wave of the CORE meeting rollout, I ask you to welcome and support it. If it isn't, the CORE meeting will be coming very soon, and it may very well be the most important thing you do to strengthen Catholic men, including yourself. Our second goal is to strengthen Catholic families, both spiritually and financially. Father McGivney founded the Knights, he saw the tremendous danger that Catholic men faced, especially in the workplace. The greatest danger for Catholic men today is not so much from a dangerous job in the factories or the mines, but rather from being swept away in a sea of secularism. We see this reality all around us. Young Catholics are leaving the faith in record numbers. For some of us, this trend hits close to home. Make no mistake, this is the greatest long-term threat to the order and to our Catholic faith. And the best way to turn it around is to have men, fathers, who lead their families in the faith. Studies show that when a father is engaged in his faith, when he leads his family in the faith, the children are 10 times more likely to remain Catholic. For this reason, I encourage all of you to get your families and the families of our brother Knights involved in the order's activities. There are many opportunities, especially through our charitable programs. We must also protect the financial needs of families. That means inviting more Catholic men to participate in our insurance program. Life insurance is our fundamental fraternal benefit, and it is the key to our success. In addition, in recent years, Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors has made enormous strides in meeting the investment needs of our families. That includes Knights of Columbus mutual funds, which are available to members and non-members alike. And in this time of politically motivated investing and unethical business practices, it's especially important that we offer Catholics not only a morally safe place to invest, but also an assurance that their money is at work furthering charitable works and a mission that is consistent with Catholic teaching. It's an important service and one that Knights of Columbus Asset Advisors was built to provide. When it comes to meeting financial needs, it's my hope that the Knights of Columbus will increasingly become the first choice for Catholic families. This is perfectly in keeping with Father McGivney's vision, and I am sure that he is proud of the work we're doing. If you're not yet an insurance member or invested with the Knights of Columbus, I urge you to give it serious consideration. We are a brotherhood that does great good for the church and the world, and participation in these fraternal benefits makes it all possible. The third thing we must do is recommit ourselves to being the strong right arm of the church. The parish has always been the place where we do this first and best, and our priests have perhaps never needed us more. Poll after poll demonstrates the clear fact that Mass attendance is in steep decline. This follows from a lack of belief in the true presence of Christ in the Eucharist. Put simply, the Knights of Columbus must do its part to draw Catholics back to Mass and back to reverent, faithful devotion to our Lord in the Eucharist. This is why the Order strongly supports the National Eucharistic Revival in the United States. Working with our bishops, we have created resources for councils and knights to help revive belief in Christ truly present in the Holy Eucharist. There are numerous ways for every knight to get involved, from a personal and parish level to attending the National Eucharistic Congress in 2024 in Indianapolis. I encourage you to visit kfc.org/Eucharist for more information. And deepening devotion to the Holy Eucharist is not just something for the United States. It's a perennial priority for every Catholic, everywhere. Our knights and councils in every country should play a part. One of the most important ways we can be the strong right arm of the church today is by standing strong for what we believe. Our fourth goal is to further expand our witness to charity. This is perhaps the most natural for us, for we have always been men of action. Each and every one of you consistently demonstrates this in countless ways. It takes the form of your support for kids in your parish schools, the aid you give to local soup kitchens, and the visits you make to veterans' hospitals. You make the order proud when you step forward to build homes for the homeless and rally to the aid of local families in need. And one of our most significant efforts this year is our new ASAP program, Aid and Support After Pregnancy. ASAP builds on our decades of support for vulnerable mothers and their unborn children. We are well on our way to reaching our $5 million goal this year, but there's still more work to be done. So far, around 1,300 councils have gotten involved, donating to nearly 900 pregnancy resource centers and maternity homes. Much harder to place a number on, however, is the lifelong impact we are making for mothers and their children. Please keep up the great work for pregnancy centers and maternity homes. The Knights of Columbus has been and will continue to be at the forefront of the fight for life. A growing number of states in the U.S. and in each country where we are present now have annual pro-life marches. More often than not, the Knights of Columbus are leading the charge and making it happen. Our work in witnessing to a culture of life is ongoing, and so too is our support for moms and children at every stage. We must also continue to support the people of Ukraine. Among them are more than 2,000 Brother Knights. They are fighting for their lives and their land, and we must stand with them. Sadly, as the war drags on, their needs only increase. I have been asked why the Knights are doing so much to aid Ukraine. The answer is simple. Our Brother Knights are in need. So are their families. We are serving children. We are aiding moms. We are walking with the elderly. And we are strengthening the church throughout Ukraine. We have already raised nearly $21 million through the Ukraine Solidarity Fund. Working with our church leaders and with councils in Ukraine itself, we have given thousands of refugees and families the aid they need, when and where they need it. From food and clothing to warmth and a place to rest. We have welcomed hundreds of thousands of women and children at Knights of Columbus Mercy Centers in Ukraine and Poland. We have helped build orphanages and provide educational opportunities for displaced Ukrainian kids. And with the power grid under attack in the coldest months of winter, we've provided generators to Ukrainian parishes that have kept the church at the center of people's lives. Our charity in Ukraine provides hope and shows the Ukrainian people that they are not alone. That was my message to our Brother Knights in December when I visited Ukraine for the second time since the outbreak of the war. As Pope Francis has written, solidarity means much more than engaging in sporadic acts of generosity. It means thinking and acting in terms of community. And each of us must send that same message through our continued charity, not just in support for Ukraine, but also in every act of charity we perform in our local communities. From the child receiving a warm coat to the family struggling to rebuild after a natural disaster, Knights are there. And whether it's a single mom worried about how to feed her baby, or a seminarian praying and preparing for a life of service, when the Knights of Columbus offers help, we are saying, you are not alone. The Knights are here. Our fifth and final focus is membership growth. I cannot overstate how important this is, not because of numbers or quotas for their own sake, but because of the opportunity the Knights of Columbus affords every Catholic man who is or who wants to be serious about his Catholic faith and his family. If you believe in what I've just laid out, if you believe that the Knights of Columbus has something great to offer men, families, and the church, why wouldn't you invite others to join us? No other organization offers what we do. There's nothing else like the Knights of Columbus. I'm very happy to report that this year we are well on our way to surpassing our membership goals. And I know that has a lot to do with each of you, especially your efforts coming out of the pandemic. I close as I began by turning to the honor and reverence we Knights offer to Our Lady. In early February, the Supreme Directors and I gathered in Mexico City for a meeting of the Board of Directors. Our pilgrimage had been delayed twice by the pandemic, but it was worth the wait. On the very site where she appeared to Juan Diego, we turned to Our Lady of Guadalupe to offer our prayers and petitions. There, kneeling before the tilma, I reconsecrated the order to Our Lady of Guadalupe, exactly 22 years to the day after past Supreme Knight Carl Anderson first did so. This reconsecration took place as the whole church embarks upon the 9-year intercontinental novena, preparing for the 500th anniversary of Our Lady of Guadalupe's miraculous appearances. 500 years ago, she entrusted her message of love to a humble layman named Juan Diego. Thanks to his obedience and fidelity, Our Lady's message resulted in one of the most consequential conversions in history and built up the church in the Western Hemisphere. Her miraculous appearance was an answer to prayer. Bishop Juan de Zumárraga, Mexico's first bishop, was overwhelmed and desperate as he found himself in an impossible situation. He wrote to the Holy Roman Emperor Charles V, saying, quote, "If God does not provide the remedy from his hand, the land is about to be completely lost." God's answer was Our Lady of Guadalupe, a woman of the Eucharist, and the rest is history. In our own day, nearly 500 years later, it can seem like we're facing an impossible situation in our families, in the church, and in the whole of society. Yet, I believe that Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Eucharist are the answer. And as members of the Knights of Columbus, 2 million strong, we are called to follow Saint Juan Diego and be heralds of Our Lady of Guadalupe and the Eucharist in our own day. Under her maternal protection, the Knights of Columbus can and must be the vanguard in building up the church today. Viva la Virgen de Guadalupe and Vivat Jesus.
Thank you. Okay. Well, that was very inspiring. Thank you, everybody. I suppose that could have been part of the morning program while the ladies were still here, like it is the state convention. I would now like to ask our worthy state warden to hand out the packets for the district deputies. and also give a packet to each of the state officers. Now, we got 25,
These are the manila ones, right?
and they're in the box right behind you. Keep the Spanish ones for our Spanish members. They're marked DDEN or DDSP or something like that. So if you're a district deputy, he needs to give you one. If you're a state officer, he needs to give you one. And then we have a few left over. So I would like our membership director and our program director for sure to get them. And then we'll go forward from there. All right. While he's working to hand that out, those out, let me just begin my 15-minute talk, which probably I'll shorten because, well, we're running a few minutes late. All right. So, the foundation of everything we're going to do is prayer. We started with it today. It doesn't seem very big. And then we did a sample prayer. I'm going to repeat what I said at the state convention, which is we need to see ourselves as a family. You are the father of your family. What's your family? My family is the state of Idaho. Your district, if you're a district deputy, is your district, your councils and your council leaders and all the members of the council. Your grand knight, and I hope you can teach this to your grand knight, they're the father of their council. Now, today we prayed over our councils at a very high level. As a district deputy, you can pray over your councils at a deeper level. Maybe you pray over your council officers. Maybe you pray over your council program director, your council membership director, your clergy, your church office, whatever. You figure it out. Pray over those people. Prayer is the foundation of everything we do. We owe everything to God, our whole existence. And so, when we act, we need to keep in mind. Turn it over to God. Because you should pray like it all depends on God. Yeah, and work like it all depends on you. Can't say that enough. Pray like it all depends on God. Work like it all depends on you, because it does. If you're a program director, family director, faith director, whatever, your family, your Knights of Columbus family are the directors and their family. If you're in charge of ceremonials, for example, your Knights of Columbus family is the ceremonial team all around the state and their families. The ceremonial teams. If you're a district master, your family is all the assemblies in the state and their families. Pray over them every day, just like we do. All right. Now, I'll get a little less emotional. There's a whole bunch of information Paul will have on membership. The affiliate program is working. They showed us numbers that I'm not supposed to tell you, but there are, I'm going to say it out loud, so I'm not going to write it down. There are 168.6 affiliate members, 186.8 thousand affiliate members. Since the program started, there are 5,700 that were put in the affiliate program that have come back as active Knights, and 639 that have quit. The success rate of the affiliate program is tremendous. It's going to continue. There's also talk about merging the e-members with the affiliate members and just calling everybody an affiliate member. But that hasn't happened yet. They taught us for 3 days. I have to compress that into another 10 minutes, that's all. There's a new program. It's called Build a Bed. It's incredibly successful. So we will, there's a slide on it, in the files of presentation. Just say we'll look for that. The ASAP program succeeded and exceeded the $5 million goal that you just saw the Supreme Knight talking about during the fraternal year. The Eucharistic procession. Okay, this is a biggie. He talked about how important it is. We've been doing them all over the state. I want to organize envoys from Idaho to join the Eucharistic procession from the West Coast towards Indianapolis. It's going to start in LA and it's going to move across. When it's in Reno, I'd like some of us from the Boise area to go down and participate in the Eucharistic procession there. When it's in Salt Lake City, I'd like some of us to form an envoy and go down and participate there. And when it goes to Indianapolis, I think there should be a contingent from Idaho to go and support it there. I don't think we can actually, cover much of the cost with our tiny state budget, so it'll probably have to mostly be on a voluntary basis. We'll work that out at our future meeting. It'll actually occur after the state convention, so it's something we can talk about at our next organizational meeting and at the state convention. Bishop Peter, by the way, I've asked him to lead Eucharistic processions for us, and we're looking at he could potentially do that at the state convention, have a Eucharistic procession. He's thinking about how to do that, so we'll look at that for our holy hour, or maybe we'll just have 2 holy hours. Okay, speaking of Bishop Peter, he is going to come to our next organizational meeting in December. And I think he wants to come celebrate Mass with you, Father, since it'll be here in Boise. So we may have our first celebrated Mass at a state organizational meeting. I don't know if it's been done before. Also, he's going to manage to make it to our state convention. And he's not going to make it to the Supreme Convention this year, but next year he's going to make it. So all those things. So that's big news about Eucharistic processions. Let's see what we can do. There's a new leadership program, and basically they're looking for people under 45 who have been at least a Grand Knight or higher to go back to Supreme and get the initial training, and then take a training class like an hour at a time online, and then they have to run for state office after that. Okay, they're not appointed; they have to be voted in. But that's the leadership program, and each state is allowed to nominate up to 2 such people for this leadership program, because Supreme's trying to create leadership. And I think our state advocate's going to talk a little bit about leadership too when it's his turn. Let's see, one of our initiatives that we've been thinking about. CORE, you talked about, the Supreme Knight talked about how important CORE is. We've got books now. And tomorrow, or is it today? I can't remember, Pat. Pat has books to hand out that actually have CORE meetings in them. It's going to be pretty tremendous. And he's going to be able to get books to you guys to show to your councils. So you'll be able to find the council wants to do the CORE program. We can drop ship books to them. I'm not going to steal any more of his thunder. We are going to do a compressed CORE meeting later in the proceedings. Delta Church Drive has, as Chuck told you yesterday, they work. we're gonna do a Delta Church Drive, presentation later on this afternoon. And then, just so everybody gets to practice it that hasn't done it before, we're gonna do a Delta Church Drive, this afternoon. So we'll let you out about 3:30, and we'll start the church drive at 4:30 over at Sacred Heart. That's where our mass will be, and our dinner and everything else. So the Delta Church Drive is handing out the cards ahead of time. Now, a lot of us have already done that. If you haven't done it, please be prepared to help out before and afterwards, approaching people. We've got these really nice pins to give you during the Delta Church Drive presentation. One last thing, and I think everybody touched on it, Chuck and Father this morning and the spring night. We're unified. Okay, guys, unity is our middle cardinal virtue. And we're here to work together as a team. If you have something come up in your district or in your program or in your state office or position, we're all here to help each other. So just keep that in mind. We're not just praying for each other. That's really super important. That's the foundation of all of it. But we also want you to talk to us. We're going to talk. I can come to places. Other state officers can come to places. We're going to have state officers mentoring district deputies and praying over them. So we're working together as a big team. I think Chuck said it the first time. Nobody can do it all. Nobody. So we're gonna do this together, all of us. And that's all I wanted to say. Let's go sort of a brief walkthrough of the weekend. There's going to be a lot of great stuff. Did I run past 10? 2 minutes. Okay, so I made up 5 minutes. We were 7 minutes behind, now we're only 2. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to our worthy membership director, Paul Ford, and he's got some slides he wants to show you. Thank you for your time. Worthy membership director.
Well, congratulations, Idaho. You had a really good year. I'd like to ask George and Brian Simer, who have more perspective than my 10 years in Idaho. But we recruited 269 new members last year. Our goal started out to be, I think, 215, but it was reduced because we did early recruiting of e-members. It was reduced the quota, the goal, to 193. We ended up with 269, which is about 140% of the goal. How does that stack up, Brian? Do you think 269 in a year? What's the most you guys remember ever recruiting in 1 year?
Well,
Offhand.
that's a tough question for me to answer because it won't seem humble.
Don't worry about that.
But I can tell you this. It's probably the largest percentage of goal that's ever been recruited in Idaho.
All right.
So it's good, and it's a step in the right direction. And to put it in perspective, I'm a great believer of perspective. We were 13th out of 75 jurisdictions in that percentage. And we were 6th of the 50 states. South Carolina, Nevada, Alabama, Wyoming, and Colorado did better than we did in terms of percentage. It's amazing because I remember reading the New Catholic Encyclopedia when I was in the seminary back in 1980 that South Carolina in 1960 had like 2% Catholics. They recruited like 750 new members this year. So you see the demographics of the United States have changed dramatically in the last 50, 60 years since I was a young man. But we have 5,314 total as of today, and we've got a couple new e-members since July 1st that are not reflected there. 55 of the 75 jurisdictions, this is internationally, of the Knights of Columbus made 100% membership, and the average was 118%. To put in perspective, our 140%. Internationally, our goal of the Knights was to recruit 72,000 new members, and we recruited 85,000. The Knights of Columbus did last year. In Idaho, 22 councils achieved the Father McGivney Award, which is for membership, and the remarkable Council of Pocatello made triple star,
Wow.
which that's pretty, sounds impressive with 33 new members. They led the state. And Nampa was also impressive with double star with 20 new members. And Meridian had 23 new members, but since it's the largest council, it merely made star. And then honorable mention goes to Idaho Falls, which had 16 new members, and was star. St. Mark's with 14 new members. The two Coeur d'Alene councils, St. Thomas and St. Pius X, had 12 and 11 new members. And honorable mention to Caldwell and Our Lady of the Rosary with 10 new members. So our goal for next year is 240 to make the Circle of Honor. This year we made Pinnacle because I think Pinnacle was 105%, 110. Well, we've done so well that nationally, internationally, they've raised the goal from 110% to 120% for Pinnacle. So we'll shoot for that, 288 new members. If we did 269 last year, we can do it. I'll give you an example. Part of the help, besides everyone taking a personal responsibility, talk briefly about that, of trying to recruit one new member a year, is the Knights of Columbus in the last 3 years have asked the field agents to recruit new members. So, for instance, I have to recruit 8 new members for the rest of the year. I've recruited 4 so far. I've got to do. So we have now 5 field agents: Trey Shore, Andrew Sorley, Michael Lockney up in Coeur d'Alene, and Michael Carroll, who is Lewiston and Cottonwood, Grangeville area. And we are supposed to recruit 12 new a year. That's 5 times, if we do our job, that's 5 times 12, 60 right there. So, and making it easier and easier on your phone to sign up guys, getting new members that way. I'm very optimistic we'll be able to get to the 288. And with that, I want to talk briefly about incentives. That you should be aware of for your councils as district deputies, etc. The membership incentives for the first quarter, July 1st through September 30th of this fraternal year. The Fast Start Council incentive, the top 10 councils based on percentage of intake goal in each jurisdiction that achieve a minimum of 100% of their intake goal by September 30th will receive a choice of either a personalized feather flag, tablecloth, or roll-up retractable banner from Knights Gear. The award can be used at membership drives and other council events. And a first quarter recruiter incentive is every individual recruiter who recruits 5 new members by September 30th of 2023 will receive a limited edition recruiter's lapel pin to show his pride in growing the membership of the order. Additional incentives will be announced in subsequent emails, etc. So with that, Joe, if we could, I'd just like to go through some slides. We're going to skip some, but also to give you guys some perspective. This is from the Knights of Columbus Membership Growth Strategies for Success, Circle of Honor, and Pinnacle Criteria.
Is these coming?
Okay, there's one. On to the next.
To the slideshow.
Control F5, I think, John.
Slideshow from the beginning.
I'm sorry, I'm blocking the
Over the
view
next
tray.
one.
You always do.
From the beginning.
When I go to church, I say, I don't want to sit there and block people's view, Anita, you know.
There you go.
You need to hold the slide.
Next slide, next slide. That's it. So keys to success. Next slide. And focusing your
If
effort.
you hit forward, it'll go through it faster.
That'll be USB.
Next.
Hold on a sec. That goes to the next one, that goes to the last one.
Oh, this way.
Much more
If you're
efficient.
walking.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure about
This
that.
is a test.
Keys to success, focusing your efforts, strategies for getting off to a fast start. COH Pinnacle Goal Criteria. Let's hear from your peers. Marketing update, skip that. So keys to success is one. I see. We're gonna skip that because it is repeated, I believe. The whys, we must grow to continue to be viable. We lose 160 plus members per day to suspensions, withdrawals, and deaths. That's 55 to 60,000 a year to lose. So if we were to get 85,000 a year, if that maintains itself, then we're growing 35,000 a year. That's good, but we could do so much better because we're dealing with such a large universe of Catholic men in the world, not just in the United States. That'll come up later. We help bring men back to the church. If not the Knights, then who? Not you, then who? I want to say the core. One of my favorite quotations from one of my favorite saints is Saint John Henry Newman. One of his models was cor, ad cor, loquitur. Heart speaks to the heart. That's what we have to do when we try to recruit. Local communities need help now more than ever. What better way to do that than by participating in our faith in action and programs? The organization that provides fraternity and spiritual support to strengthen families and local communities and help build back support for our church, bishops, and priests. I was in a retreat once in the seminary, and a wonderful priest who's gone to his reward said, just light a candle, don't curse the darkness. It's a good dictum to keep in your mind a lot, even personally. Just light a candle, don't curse the darkness. Do the best you can and focus on that. Help men become better Catholics, fathers, and husbands. Why join the Knights of Columbus? I want to become a better man, a better father, a better husband. Tell your personal story. Why did you become a knight? I would like to tell you that I became a knight to become a field agent, but that would be false. How have you benefited from your membership? Keys to success: build a strong team, put the best people in the right position, communicate at a high level, develop a strong jurisdictional strategic plan playbook, assess actual versus target performance at regular intervals. So I've got to do better as a membership director. I've got to communicate with George more. I've got to communicate with the district deputies more. I'm asking you here, those of you who are district deputies, to be open to my reaching out to you so we can talk and organize and have a targeted idea of doing church drives. You know, what councils are doing church drives, what councils are not doing any church drives. What can we do to help them? Getting everyone to understand the whys, why membership growth is so important, and why now. Everything flows from membership growth. Now, of course, it's a symbiotic relationship, because if we don't have faith in action programs, then men won't be interested in becoming knights. So, Georgia referenced prayer. I always thought it was valuable to me just going to a council meeting, because I enjoyed getting on my knees with other men and saying an Our Father, a Hail Mary, and a Glory Be. Wasn't much, wasn't a long time praying, but it was important to me. Get all councils recruiting actively. Increase awareness in the parishes of who we are and what we do. Overcome council leaders' resistance to change. Hold all leaders accountable. Your number one job is to inspire and motivate your teams. Commit to making training a priority. Identify training needs and state trainers. Use our trainers. Use the tools and resources available. Okay, focusing your efforts. We wish to focus our efforts by targeting younger men, especially, and Hispanic ethnic groups as priority target prospects. If you see a young man at Mass with a family and children, why not go up and ask him, are you a member of the Knights of Columbus? Or at a coffee afterwards, or if you have a prayer group, or you're in a ministry, you're in a choir, you're doing something related to the parish, and you see a young man, it's going to be more or less unusual, ask to take him out to have a cup of coffee, or just come up and introduce yourself. Ask him if he's a member of the Knights of Columbus. Hispanic and ethnic groups are priority target prospects.
They're supposed to be here by 10:30. We'll see. You can go through that.
Build strong partnerships with your local bishops. We are doing that with thankfully he's very open to meeting with our state deputy. Ensure that you know all we do, faith in action programs, core meetings, and Pat King, I think Pat, you're going to talk about the core meetings later. Encourage them to promote KFC with their pastors. Something we, the field agents, can do more, or we're trying to do more. you reach out to the pastors. Promote wide adoption of faith in action programs and core meetings. Promote online membership as the easiest path to entry. I don't know, can you do like a little tutorial on this?
John's gonna talk about online over the phone when you get that talk.
Okay.
So excuse me, Paul, you were saying about how it's important to have that relationship with our pastors and how to promote things with the KFC with the pastors. What is the state's position or whatever on the district deputies meeting with those council pastors? I know, of course, you should have the Grand Knights and officers of the council meet with the pastors, but what about the position of the district deputies meeting with the pastors?
I think it is many of us who meet with the pastor.
So if you go to meet with a pastor, you should be going with somebody who's from that council. As Chuck said yesterday, you want one voice to speak to the pastor from the council. If that be that chancellor, Grand Knight, whoever it is, don't go giving him a different message than the council. Okay, that's the important thing. Keep the message unified. I've gone to, say, my pastor with the Grand Knight, with the spokesman, and I just augment what the Grand Knight says.
Okay, thank you.
It gives it extra clout.
Strong partnerships with your general agents and field agents. So we have open lines of communication for sure. Make establishing NCDs, pardon my ignorance, what's an NCD? New council development, ethnic roundtables, and holding monthly dialysis and exemplifications as a priority. That's definitely what we have to work on is. And I know some councils do a phenomenal job, like Holy Apostles. Can anyone else speak up, any of the district deputies, about who in their areas does a really regular job of doing exemplification?
Sacred Heart of Church Council does a exemplification or a practice exemplification. The third Tuesday of the month.
And you must have done a lot of exemplifications at Pocatello.
We did 4, and we did 1 in Blackfoot with our Pocatello team. So not regular. We just, when we had the guys, we set a date, did it in the church with Father, and we had food and made it a celebration every single ceremony.
And I'm going to ask you to comment in just a little bit. So Supreme makes a big, feel a little awkward, even though my kids are half Hispanic growth, but we can see why. Partnering to invite all Catholic men. I'm a little uncomfortable with ethnocentric emphasis, but it's just a thing of reality. And this will show you why. If you can, let's study this a bit. Overall population, Catholic population estimates for the U.S. Let's go to 2021. They want to show there's a decline in the white non-Hispanic population. Estimated Catholics in 2016 versus 2021. Still, the Catholic white population grew, but here is the Hispanic Latino, mostly Mexican, but from so many other countries now, especially if you were in Florida, you'd have tremendous numbers of Puerto Ricans and Venezuelans. So you can see the percent change. There is the growth in Hispanic and Latino. And the Knights tend to skew older, which is understandable to a certain extent. Because I was not gonna join the Knights of Columbus when I was 35 and 40 and had 4, 5, or 6 kids. You see the Black, African American, Asian, tremendous growth there in both the Catholic growth, Asian, Native American, catch-all. But you look down at the bottom, the total population of the United States, census estimated 332 million, probably close to 340 million now. That's the population of the United States. The Catholic population, despite, at least nominally, despite certain declines, is 77 million people. That's a tremendous, and we have 2 million Knights. Well, if you take out everyone under 18, and there's about 4 million births per year, so you take out whatever the Catholic population is under 18, you take out the female, if you can't join the Knights. We still have, you know, what, 30 million or so of 18 and older Catholic men in the country. But a lot of them are going to be Spanish speaking as their first language. So we just want to be open and invite them and make them feel welcome as we always have, I believe. So to give you some perspective, the Philippines has 85 million Catholics, the only Catholic nation in Asia. 85 million, more than us. So when there are 425 or 450,000 Knights of Columbus in the Philippines. So there are more, where we started in the United States, there are many more. But you know, we're also in Mexico, Dominican Republic even, Poland and Ukraine. And Ukraine was the #1 jurisdiction by percentage to its membership growth. It grew by over 400%. It was very small. They only had to recruit 100, and they recruited about 400. But we're having an effect in Ukraine. So just by those numbers, this macro trend that you have to okay, TGD and RGD.
Territorial Growth Director and Regional Growth Director like Chuck.
If I could have spent a few hours, I might have got it. So our Hispanic coordinator is.
Okay, so we have two different kinds of Hispanic coordinators. Our Hispanic Growth Director is going to be Carlos Tapia. He's previously been a Grand Knight of Council 4013, Santa Maria, and he's now also learning under Skip how to be a district deputy for the Hispanic group. So he's going to start off as a district warden for Skip. And our Hispanic, I'm going to call him Renewal. I mean, they don't have an actual name, but his name is Charlie Ruiz, and he's going to work on trying to bring 16757, the Hispanic Nampa Council back, and also try to resurrect the remnants of Council 12881, which is struggling. Let's put them out. Yes.
So with respect to 16757,
Yes.
please tread very lightly there because they are really make sure that there's a desire for that worthy state deputy. And I say that with as much respect as I can because when I have former leaders of that council almost get in my face and tell me hands off when it comes to trying to sequester them into a council of their own because they want to be part of that Nampa Council English 2014
Okay.
and how much they did to help them win double star with respect to Jorge Barilla to really come in and say how proud he was that he was able to not only wear the uniform of the color corps, but to stand next to his English brethren. And he's not trying to say no to the state when it comes to building that up for the state deputy.
Yeah.
But what he is doing is just saying, please be careful.
All right.
Because, and I say that with so much respect, because yes, there are some that know that if they're in their own Hispanic council, they'll thrive, but that percentage is small and getting smaller.
Okay.
I tried for 4 years to get that council to succeed.
I know, I've shared your struggles and your pain on that one. Can we talk on
Absolutely,
afterwards?
absolutely. I don't want to take this body's time. I know we're on a time budget, but I'm just praying for the state deputy that you tread lightly.
We will, you and I will talk during a break or at lunch or dinner. Okay, thank you. You have the, are you gonna tell them the Hispanic numbers in Idaho?
I don't.
Okay, so here's the Hispanic numbers in Idaho. Okay, we have 110,000 Hispanics. That is 41.2% of Catholics are Hispanic. Anybody want to take a guess how many Hispanic nights we have?
5.
How many did you say we have total?
5317.
Probably 1,000. It just kind of depends on how people identify themselves.
I would guess it's more like 400 or 500. Let's say it's 500. Okay,
Now,
this percentage doesn't look like 41.2. Okay, so what Supreme has noticed is that the Hispanic population is growing mightily among the Catholics, and this is a great and fertile area to work. Okay, so we have 2 Hispanic coordinators. I don't know where they are. They were supposed to be here by now, but in any case, we're going to try to move into the Hispanic community and try to grow the councils, put the councils on better footing than they are now. And we have 2 great councils. They Santa Maria and Nuestra Senora de Guadalupe over at Cathedral, that both involve the ladies very intimately in their council activities. The other councils maybe not so much, and so that might be one of the keys we're going to look at more as we go along.
I was talking to Carlos, because he's at St. Mary's now, where I'm at Santa Maria at St. Mary's. I'm gonna learn more about it. I think that once a month, the whole family comes, the guys, I think they started together, and at one point the guys do their meeting, the ladies. I don't know about the youth, I know they're big on families, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that, I think that is a way.
It's amazing.
I've learned not to miss Santa Maria's meetings. They start with a meal. Or pizza or something. Then they go out and the ladies have their chat and then do the meeting and that type of stuff.
And you hear a lot of laughter coming out of the
Oh, yeah.
ladies' meeting.
Oh, yeah.
So the
I have
nights
a
are.
question. I have a question.
Yes.
And I just want to ask Chuck, when you mentioned your territory, did it include Utah? How many Hispanics are in Utah? Your membership compared to Idaho? I didn't no idea. And the reason I say that, my name is Bruce Davino. I'm a new district deputy. When I left New York City in Brooklyn in 1982, my major company from Wall Street relocated to Salt Lake City. And a division of 2,500 people, less than 250 of us went to Salt Lake City. So I can tell you what I went through when the company started to hire to replace those over 2,000 co-workers of mine. I became a knight in 1983 because of what I was faced with as a Catholic in Utah. And the council that I belong to, which is the Church of St. Peter and Paul in Grangeville, Utah, was started by Hispanics. And if it wasn't for the Hispanic councils and some of the Hispanic brothers that I met, not through work, I worked with over 1,500, 1,800 Mormons. All of my brothers that came from New York, they left the state. Nobody remained. There wasn't even probably 50 or 70 of us before the end of 1983. But most of the council members were Hispanics. And all the churches that we belonged to, even the Cathedral of Madeline, where the bishop was in the Catholic Register not long ago, I have to say, like Father Juno Perosera, if it wasn't for some of the Hispanics, I don't think the Catholic Church would have ever survived in Utah, personally, from what I've seen there. And I lived there for 7 years before I got sent up here in '89. That's why I asked the question, because I've been exposed to this in my past. And when I was a field agent and recruiting and doing insurance, the Hispanic population growth from 1996 till 2001, 2002, it really took off. I'm sure you can attest to that because you were with me as an agent. I'm sure Trey can attest to some of that from what he saw in the past. So what we got here is a foundation that's already been started, like was talked about before, with the trowel, with the bricks building up and coming down the hourglass. This is something that we've been susceptible to, that I've seen in my Idaho years, 34 years, that's still trying to come to a head.
Thank you.
And I appreciate what you're saying, because some of us are neglecting to see this number. And if you take the 5,317, if we are all Anglo, what are we doing to accept the others to bring them in community? At Our Lady of the Rosary, we have now the Kiswahili community for the last 2 years, plus the Koreans. I don't want to get into that situation, but there's another area where we have about 200 to 300 Swahili people coming to our church the first and third Sunday of the Mass, and we have very little outreach. So just wanted to bring that up.
Appreciate it. The Supreme Hispanic Support, we will provide Hispanic coordinators training in Spanish, monthly conference calls, podcasts, and Spanish newsletter. There are Spanish tools and resources. There are Spanish KFC website now with current and up-to-date information. And there are links. There are all kinds of a new Spanish exemplification is available on the KFC website, 30 minutes in time, and can be used as a training tool. And then we have all these Spanish videos available. So it's quite a lot. And it's all available there on the website. So this just points out that we're aware of the issue, the problem, and Supreme is very much trying to recruit as many Hispanic members into the Knights of Columbus as possible. They have also this handout, and then we have Jose Jimenez and Cecilia Castillo at the contact for Hispanic support. Yes.
So what, as district deputies, as a state, since unity is something that we all do together, as a unit, what can we do to support the Carlos Tapias and the Charlie Ruizes? How can we support them? I mean, I want to make this work. I mean, I'm not going to poo-poo what you're saying.
I'm just saying that I don't
How
think,
can I help?
yes, I think that's a discussion for another time.
Okay,
Because I've got
I understand.
limited time.
Thank you.
But I agree with you in getting into the specifics. That's going to be, that's something else. I'm sorry. College councils. I want to just briefly ask Roy to talk about the success of Pocatello, and then I'm going to wrap up. Why college councils? College men need to be knights, young men need Catholic brotherhood. Appealing call to mission and support within it. I'm glad they said this because it's the reality. It's been the reality probably since I was in college. Support within an anti-Catholic campus culture. Help our order grow younger. By the way, the Knights, we did really good in Idaho in recruiting below age 50. It was really good. help our order go average members 18 to 22, ensure the long-term success of our order in your jurisdiction. Out of them come the future state and local leaders. College councils are often our most active. I did not know that. College officers get a lot of experience in a short amount of time. Upon graduation, they bring energy and excitement with them. It's an excellent growth opportunity. A successful college council can bring on 20 plus members per year. A way to bring on large numbers of young men rapidly. What do you got to say, Roy?
Yeah, I mean, Pocatello hasn't established a college council, but yes, they brought in 20 new members. We brought 7 members in right before the end of the last fraternal year. It kind of all started really between Father Emil, who was their priest there, and then Dave O'Neill, the college coordinator. They just decided that the nights is where they wanted the young men to kind of learn and
Attach
themselves to. And, they still have their activities with all the girls and their groups together, but they also have a nights group now, and they are doing things as young men in the Pocatello community. They regularly go out to the sisters' homes and help, just do chores for the sisters and they're very faith oriented. It really helped, I think, at the beginning of last year in September. We had our state deputy there that gave a pulpit speech that was faith based. I had given one in the spring that was more, this is what the Knights do kind of thing. But then George came in and gave more of a faith based, and that with the college coordinator just really just having continuous messages there too.
But
has created
27
a
new
core group.
members in a little over a year is pretty impressive. So, and we have other colleges, it's those 2 guys then are the key then. Those 2 men, the priest.
If you're
and the
local
layman.
priest and you're coordinator of that college campus, and we've seen the success in Moscow, and I think we had some good momentum at Boise State with Andrew Furphy and their priest at the time, but it was kind of, they had another program and
Focus.
yeah, I mean, it was just, yeah, I mean, I think we're working and learning and trying to grow how we can work with Focus versus,
Well, that's all good. One of my daughters was a Focus missionary for a couple of years. With that,
but their faith is strong. These young kids are really coming to college with, the desire to get some faith, and I think that's great. I mean, that's our future as Catholics. If we don't get those young people to stay in the church, we're like Scotland, where I went to Mass in Scotland, and there was like 2 young kids with a family visiting, and the priest was just like ecstatic because everybody else was 70 and older. They had no nights there. I mean, I was like, how do you even function as a church without nights? But it was
well, thank you very much, Roy, for the perspective. And in the interest of time, I've got to get off the podium. So with that, we're the state deputy. I conclude my report.
Thank you very much, Paul. At this point, I'd like to call our roundtable coordinator up to.
George, can I ask?
Yeah, go ahead.
Really quick? The Supreme Night talked about is 5 points. I would suggest maybe for the next organizational meeting, the state officers review the Supreme Night's address in advance, set up some sort of a template on how to discuss this. I think it's important we discuss those 5 things. And I think Corey's questions deserve some input and some answers, because we've been talking about Hispanic growth for 20 years, and we still don't have an answer for it. And I think it's time we develop an answer. And I think that answer has to come from this group of leaders. And so, we don't have to do it now. I understand you've got your agenda and everything, but I think maybe for the future, we think about how do we take those questions that Corey has, and how do we really come up with the game plan. And, you know, Chuck's gonna have to be involved in that too, because I think Supreme needs to be involved in that answer as well. So that's all. Thanks, George.
All right, thank you. We're gonna have our roundtable coordinator speak. We have an online membership presentation by John Kerschel that we're gonna have to try to do remotely because he couldn't be here. So I'm gonna turn it over to John.
Yeah, I guess what I'm gonna say, the reason I'm here now is because it dovetails a little bit with what we just heard. You know, people think of a roundtable and they think its purpose is to build a new council. That's not all it does. Roundtables aren't just for building a new council. Matter of fact, there's certain criteria, and that's what I wonder in some of these communities, especially the smaller communities around here. We talk about Hispanic councils. Supreme has a goal or a recommendation that there be at least 150 families in a parish to form a council. I'm not sure in a lot of parishes in various areas of the country, I mean, the state, maybe Boise and Pocatello and stuff, there might be enough Hispanic families to do a council, but there might not. So I don't know how that's sometimes, but being inclusive. Like I said, councils are guaranteed, or roundtables are geared toward smaller parishes that don't have as many as 150 families in the parish. They're trying to help them form their own councils or to serve multiple parishes where they have several families that come together as one council. And we can use, the roundtables can be used to service college campuses. They can even be used in high schools to work with the kids there. A roundtable, even in a parish that has a council, roundtables can be used for a variety of reasons to affect some of the council missions, to work with parish priests on different things, and they are good in, like I say, in the ethnic communities and in parishes without councils. So that might be an alternative if we want to be more inclusive in some of the smaller areas and regions that don't have the population to support a Hispanic council to be able to do it. Might be a roundtable. Going forward as a roundtable coordinator, you know, I know that there are already some roundtables going on in the state. Last year, I think there were 5 or 6. I know St. Mary's had one. They had a roundtable. McCall had one, and mainly for specific purposes. So that's something to think about, and I kind of want to discuss where we go from there. As a roundtable coordinator, I think it's important to use the roundtables to outreach and expand our growth and expand our contact with the community, both in our parish and outside our parish, to bring more members in. So district deputies are here. As district deputies, you're going to hear from me probably more than you want to, but please be receptive when I reach out to you either by phone or by email. I'm going to be looking for roundtable opportunities in your various districts. You're going to know where they are. You're going to have communication with Grand Knights and your councils and know where there might be roundtable opportunities. So I need to find that out about so we can expand our reach throughout the state and bring in more members. We do need to bring in more members and more young members. And so a lot of times that's where these things are concentrating, like say on college campuses and other places. Throughout the year, as I said, I'm going to be reaching out to you both by email and by phone to just discuss what we can do together to establish roundtables. Like I said, I think we had 5 last year. In a state this size with this many councils, I'm sure there's greater need than 5, but a lot of people just don't understand what roundtables can do besides just trying to make a new council. So I'll be talking to you about that and about some of the things we can do moving forward. And then, of course, once we establish a roundtable, it's about communications. If we don't stay on top of things, like everything else, if we don't pay attention to what we're doing and talk about what we're doing, communicate what we're doing, it's just going to collapse. It's going to fail. You know, and like everything else, there's report forms to be filled out, but they're not real tough, you know. And so I can help you with that kind of stuff as well. But like I say, right now, if you're aware of roundtables that have been going on in your various districts, please let me know. Meet with me here if you can. If there was a roundtable 2 or 3 years ago, it may have died on the vine just because the last person running it, helping coordinate it, has moved on or gone on to something else. It may still have a very real need. We need to reactivate those old programs too. I think at one point we had 15 or 16 of them statewide. Now we're down to
We had 27 at one point.
27. And last year was like, all right, 6? 8. Okay. So to me, that tells me there's at least 19 more out there that may still have that need, and we just don't know it anymore. Some of the needs may have gone away. But so please talk to me this weekend while we're here, and let's see what we can do, because I'd like to make this the whole roundtable initiative a success. And like I say, it's beyond just making new councils. It's making our communities, our parishes, and our state a better place for everybody through our efforts. So thank you.
Can I add something to that?
Certainly.
Even though the roundtable's already been in place, it's important to fill out the coordination form every year. So if there's a coordination last year, need to do it again. And that keeps Supreme knowing that it's still ongoing. Because if you don't fill out a coordination form, even though the roundtable's functioning, according to Supreme, they're not. So,
Yeah. So that's just what we're talking about here.
yeah.
They may be still going on, but they're not getting reported, and we don't know about them. So that's what I need everybody to help with too. I mean, I wasn't clear about that, but if they're still going on, we don't know it, we need to know it. So.
Thank you very much. All right, at this point, we're supposed to have a break on the schedule. We're not finished with membership, and our Hispanic coordinators will, one of them, at least Charlie's gonna be here at 2:30. Okay, so we'll work with that. And so, does everybody need a break? Typically, this is a good time for a bio break.
Yeah.
Let's do that. 10 minutes. Chuck covered yesterday church drives. Okay, and there's several ways you could do church drive. There's the old way, there's the Delta Church driveway. You can't, Kona Magana does a completely different thing. It's totally unlike anybody else's. Church drives can be done lots of ways. Okay, and we're still meeting. Second way is event recruiting. You can recruit at events. And we talked about that last night. I think Chuck mentioned it, and also Paul mentioned a little bit. Event recruiting is where you wear your Knights branded stuff. You're at an event. The Knights are running it, and maybe somebody steps up and says, "You need help," or you talk to people that are at the event attending it, and to strike up a conversation, get to the point where you're relating to one another, and then you are able to you're able to ask them to join. So in all these things, it's talk, relate, and then invite. And then the core meeting. I'm going to throw this open to you guys in 1 minute. The last one I'm giving you, this is a quiz. Now the quiz, I took all the easy answers, so we're going to get yours to the harder ones. All right. So the core meetings are designed to be Knights-led, open to parishioners, men, Catholic men. The idea is that you have faith sharing. A lot of your younger Knights, especially, are interested in growing their faith. And that's what they're looking for when they're going to, that men is I, or is me, or some of these other men's groups. And so what the Knights do is faith sharing. On top of that, we break bread while we're sharing our faith. And then at the end, we offer people a chance, an opportunity to exercise the faith that they just grew from that meeting with, hey, these are upcoming Knights activities. It really makes it a lot easier. All right, some of them will probably become Knights as a result. I'm going to ask you, are there any other ways that we can grow the order? What are other good practices for growing the order, for getting new members?
Elevator speech.
Elevator speech. Oh, that was one that Chuck covered.
Thank you for listening.
Yesterday.
I appreciate that.
All right, good one.
Invitations to night socials.
Night socials.
We do one every month.
Excellent.
Dinner.
What else? Who else has an idea? Corey.
Basically building community, even if it comes from, including that community of non-Catholics. Basically something else that I think Chuck said was, even if you're not Catholic, I got a guy for that.
I got a guy for that. I like that one.
And that was one of them.
Okay.
Father can help with that.
So building community, even when it comes to non-Knights and non-Catholics.
Sound like core.
Yeah, very good. All right, that works. Yes, go for it.
What's worked for Meridian real well is the night masses.
Night masses.
Yeah.
Why don't you explain that while I'm writing it?
So Father Vitalis wanted the Knights at Holy Apostles to have every position in that takes for a regular Sunday Mass to be filled with Knights wearing their shirts. And I mean, this means altar servers, who, by the way, we're colored for, and the ushers and the Eucharistic ministers. And we also use some of our wives to fill in, and the readers were all Knights. Anyhow, Ray, how many people did we bring in at Holy Apostles after the first one?
I have to say probably 3 or 4, but we don't quantify it at the event. What happens is we plant the seed, and then weeks, if not months down the road, hey, I want to be part of that. It's stuff we're gonna, oh boy, is it a success or not a success at the end of the day of the Mass? It's the success at the end of the quarter,
It's the mass that keeps on giving us from the standpoint.
It does my heart really good to see how many of you are writing these things down and engaged. This is awesome. Some more. You guys got a lot. John,
My council leads a rosary every Sunday between masses.
rosary.
We do one before mass on Sunday.
That's what the recommend.
I'm just gonna put at mass, either before or after, you guys can. Okay, these are, all right, does everybody have those? Because I gotta change sheets.
Regular coffee and donut hour.
Well, we're gonna go to Chuck here, and then we'll get to you.
One of the easiest things you can do is wear night stuff.
Okay, Knight's branded gear. Does everybody have the Chuck?
I mean,
Yeah.
before you turn the page, the rosary as well. For membership, we added a rosary before every one of our monthly meetings, and our monthly meeting has gone by about 30% attendance.
And at meetings, before meetings.
Not part of, but before.
We do it starts half an hour before our regular monthly meeting.
And that's something similar to core. Okay, I was gonna put down, I'll get to you, Paul. All right, next.
I just wanted to piggyback on,
Okay, so we wanted, yeah, go
John,
ahead.
that Nampa also started to say a rosary a half hour before the start of their council meeting. So I think it's really good.
Rosary, prayer. Remember, the foundation of all of this is our prayer. And the rosary, I mean, there's people that are mad at that think the Catholics are using that it's a weapon, that it's an actual physical weapon, but it's a
It
spiritual
absolutely
weapon.
is.
It's a spiritual weapon. All right, so we said nights.
Yeah, we do a night sponsored coffee and donut. We used to do it once a month, but we noticed one thing. Soon, when there was no coffee and donuts, the narthex was empty within minutes after mass. But now that we do a coffee and donut every single week, they tend to linger for about a half an hour, 40 minutes after, engaging in conversation.
So the coffee and donuts is an example of doing the recruiting at an event.
Right.
And that's a very specific one because you get the whole parish coming. I think the last guy I brought in was a guy, a lawyer from Ukraine, at a coffee and donuts just last month. Okay. So yeah, coffee and donuts, that's a really good one because you can talk to people, relate, and then invite. Okay, some more. Paul, which one did you, you said Nampa. I got your nice branded thing, it's coffee and donut. What else? Okay, Nick.
I was a sponsor just recently to a guy that went through the RCIA program.
RCIA.
That was good because he's learning the faith, and it was all good for me too.
Yeah.
On that, talk to your parish priest. Ours gives us time for the RCIA, so we can go and talk about nights during the RCIA.
The Mystagogia or during. Okay. And I, just for your interest, Dave, your brand new faithful navigator at the Idaho Falls is a guy I talked to at RCIA before he even graduated, and he came to me right after. Said it was the first week he was out. And he found me, and we went and we got him signed up that day. So right after that.
What did you say, Deputy? On the RCIA, statistically, 50 to 75% of the people who come in to the church this Easter, by next Easter, will not be attending Mass because they didn't find the community support that they needed to keep going.
Mm-hmm.
They had it in the group during RCIA from their Protestant backgrounds. Very often they're used to heavy fellowship. And as Catholics, we go, yeah, go, you're good. The Knights can fill that in and give them an opportunity to put their newfound faith or newly expanded faith into action in their communities. We can really help save souls by inviting the RCIA and their families to be involved in our activities.
I'm going to expand that and use your idea and call it fellowshipping.
I think that should be part of a lesson is that the available ministries of each parish for all the new RCIA. We used to have a welcoming.
We have returning Catholics.
Yep. So all these things, fellowshipping is huge. I brought a guy in who's now going to be Deputy Grand Knight. I spent a year just texting with him because I met him after Mass one time. Maggie and I took family out to lunch, and he wanted to move to Idaho Falls eventually or somewhere else. think he came to Idaho Falls because this was somebody welcoming them. The family, So, all right, what else? There's a lot more. Yes, John.
Skip's wife is the secretary out at Risen Christ. Every time they get a reply card from their welcome basket, she sends me an email message and says, got this person interested in the Knights.
Awesome. Invite new parishioners, if I could spell. All right. All right. Invite new parishioners.
Don't ever tell her I'm using her.
Ken.
George, some of the best recruiters are Happy Knights.
Happy Nights. I think Chuck covered that, didn't you?
Chuck, yeah. But we gotta really, me and the fraternal activities, we gotta make the guys, the volunteers, happy. And if they're real happy, they'll start talking about it to everybody.
Yeah, but
Okay.
they tend to chastise you when you drink that much beer.
That's why you get wine or hard alcohol.
For how many years they did that? Oh, it's all I do is play free cards.
Happy Nights recruit. All right. These are really good. More? Especially from the district deputies? What else works? Okay, Shane.
I used to talk to my priest in Napa all the time about new people that he
Beautiful.
coming to the church that he hadn't seen before.
Priest recommendations. This is a biggie. Now you may, when you talk to your priest, Father Raul told me one time, oh yeah, it's the guy that sits next to the third station every Sunday. Okay, you gotta figure out what, because he knows that would make a good night, but he doesn't know his name. Okay, so, but they do give you recommendations if you ask. You gotta ask, right? What else? You're not gonna make me use my list yet. Come on, you guys got more ideas. Okay, Skip.
How about the blank invite? You invite Catholic men and say, the priest or the pastor thinks you'd make a good night, whether he knows them by name or not.
Yes. Yes. So that's
like a
that's exactly right. That your message. He recommends somebody. You tell them. Father says you'd be a good guy. Become a knight of Columbus. Corey.
So one facet that we've had that's really been a huge night building utility throughout the district has been involvement in other ministries.
Okay.
So say, for example, like Food for Families has reached out to, say, St. Vinny's. And so that's bridged that gap. Or say, like for the Codes for Kids, it's bridged the gap to the giving ministry with respect to the, so I would say
Helping other ministries?
interministerial relationships.
Partnering with other ministry and organizations.
Okay. So I put helping other ministries,
That works,
but
yeah.
it's probably better the way Ken said it, but I started writing too, so.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Yeah. All right. Go ahead, Max.
Recruit through the wives.
The wives. Holy moly, that is powerful. That is one of the best. Recruit through wives. Well, these are great things to share with your Grand Knights and your council membership directors. Awesome. Okay, Shane.
Kind of along that same one, we used to work with the Catholic daughters really close. And then get recommendations from the Catholic daughters.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna say recommendations, just in general. So from other women, from women in general, from the priest. Here's the kicker. There's one more group that isn't the priest or women or
The youth group.
Youth group's a good one, but I'm looking for something related to the Shining Armor Award.
How about some kind of program incentive for a member to
get another member.
Well, incentives are good, but I'm still, and thank you, because that is excellent.
Are you talking about
Can
fraternal
get some
fraternal
people.
benefit events?
That's one of the, we recently had a fraternal benefit work event where two guys came in before the event was over.
Yeah.
Okay, they were like banging on the door, where's that QR code? Okay, FVEs are powerful ways to bring guys in. All right, I'm still looking for one group that relates to the Shining Armor Award. I can't make it any clearer. What?
6 letters.
New nights, spring nights.
New Knights. Beautiful.
Friends of New Knights.
You know, sometimes the new knight knows people, but he's afraid to approach them. Help him, but put his membership number on the recruitment. And if he's good at, if he's good enough to approach them on his own, super max.
You also have high school graduates.
Oh, high school graduates.
Maybe you could target the ones that are graduating.
Okay, high school grads and youth are related. All right,
My
Better
wife
have your
likes
own
talking
sons
with
become a knight
other
when you turn 18.
wives.
okay.
You have a choice.
There's two others that are really, that we're missing, that I know of, that I think are really important to get on this list. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is part of your list or not, but my wife really likes to talk with other wives.
Yeah, we
At coffee hour
Yeah,
and
we-
say, hey, you know, your husband really needs to be a knight.
super. Yeah, we did get that one. I think you were out talking to her, talking the other night. Okay, there's two more left that are really, really big. And I know we've talked about them both before, at least one of them. Okay.
Idaho, we go to the men's conference.
Men's conference? Well, that's really good. So that's still events.
Yeah, well, I
But
mean,
the
it's-
men's conference.
we gotta go where there's a potential to sign men up. We gotta get into that.
There's a lot of men's conferences, by the way. There's one on July 28th. There's one in November. I can't remember the date. And there's one in late January, early February. Hasn't been announced yet. So 3. Okay. One of the best things that you can do to recruit new guys is hold your exemplifications after Mass. We had a guy walk up and say, hey, I was the night before, but I have been out for so long. But I heard you guys say you're going to do an exemplification. Can I join in? And I signed him up right there. Okay. Do your exemplifications in church after Mass. Because what happens is people see the knights are doing something. It's open. They can see what we're doing. Some people will linger and they'll see what's going on. And the last one, I know we've talked about this one before. Family gatherings, especially at holidays. I want to congratulate you guys. You've got a couple that I didn't have, so I'm going to have to add update my list. I'm looking forward to the.
Family gatherings can be a lot like, don't discuss politics
That's
or religion.
Yeah, they can be. You have to do it selectively. But that's a great place to run into people that aren't knights that are Catholic and can be invited. Okay,
Or non-Catholics that we know about.
all right.
I know.
What time is it?
And then somebody gets to.
11:20.
11:20. Okay. We are going to do the face-to-face, and then Brian has a few words to say. Actually, I think we should have Brian talk first. Brian, why don't you come on up and do your presentation?
Thank you, Oregon State Deputy. So George asked me to just talk a little bit about, how I did things as district deputies. Will you raise your hands, Stevies? Oh, Roy, welcome to the group. How I do things. And I'd like to say that I came up with this idea, but I didn't. I followed a guy named Bill Backrack in my business. I'm a financial advisor. And what he does is a thing called values-based planning. The one thing the Knights of Columbus is really good at is telling you what they want from you. They give you their quotas. They tell you this, we want you to do these programs. They do a really good job of telling you that. But what they don't do is they don't really ask what it is you guys are trying to accomplish. What is it you want? What is it you're trying to get to? And so, George, did you keep the pen?
There's a pen right there. Here.
Okay. So the first thing that when I sat down with a client or a prospective client, the first thing I asked them is, what is important about money to you? And then we would go from there. So I'm going to ask for a volunteer, a district deputy to volunteer before I call on one of you. DDs, anyone want to volunteer? Congratulations, Corey. All right, so I'm going to ask you very simply. Now, this is what you're going to talk to your Grand Knights about this, but you can sit down. You have to stand up for this. But what is important about being district deputy to you?
I would say probably the number one thing that's important about that is presence.
Okay, so why don't you all start down at the bottom here, all you district deputies, and in that spot, just write presence. Do it at the bottom.
The brown square?
Yeah, we're next to the asterisk.
What's that word?
Presence.
Present.
Well, I thought it was
Nobody gives me
PRESENTS.
any present.
You said that. You said that. That's very funny.
The tall one.
That's very funny. You're lucky there aren't any fines. I'm thinking, did I spell it wrong? So I would respond with this, because what I'm trying to do is I'm really trying to get to the core of what drives Corey, what's really important to him. So I will respond with something like, and this will be a truthful reply. That's an interesting answer, Corey. I've never heard that come up before. That's not an answer I get a lot. So can you help me understand that a little bit better? What is important about presence to you?
It's authentic, it's genuine. When you're present in your true self versus, and I'm being just blunt here, versus hiding behind a text or an email or whatever, being actually physically present to that person, you get the full emotional package of seeing their facial expression, seeing their immediate need. If you begin to hit on a hot topic, all of a sudden their expression changes, they may get a startle, and then you know that you are into an inroad, not only within their conversation, but within their heart.
Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so what I would say, I would try to glean something from that, and what I would say, I would try to rephrase it to see if I'm getting it, and that would be, so you're trying to tell me, but please tell me if I'm wrong, you want sort of a road into what makes your relationship with that Grand Knight. Help me understand that better.
So basically what I'm trying to do, Brian, is I'm trying to go from just being present to them to where I can honestly say, I have built a relationship with that person.
Okay, so relationship. Building
Yes.
relationship.
Yes.
All right, so you see how I just asking those questions to get him to give me some answers. So build relationship, and I won't go through all of this because we don't have time. So so what you do is you just take this sheet and you just kind of go up with them. Now, normally what I do when I'm filling it out with them, I'll be writing some things down, and then when I ask the next question, I put the pen down. And I just sit and I'm just with Corey. I don't know if you noticed that what I did when he was talking, I moved towards him to engage him, to listen to him, to make sure I was understanding what he was saying. And I didn't necessarily understand what he was saying, which is why I asked him to elaborate a little bit more on it. Okay? So we'll go one step further. I would say something like, Corey, that is an answer I get quite a bit, is building relationships. And building relationships means different things to different people. So tell me, Corey, what's important about building relationships to you? And then you guys are filling in as you go along.
What's important about building a relationship, it goes beyond just our titles. Basically, if they find out like I'm a district deputy or whatever, then they're like, oh, you're just acting out of your title. where you're just acting out of your position or you're acting out of some sort of something that's either that you're exposing to me. But if I built a true relationship with you, then two things are happening: respect and trust simultaneously. Because if you're in a relationship with someone, then those two things are naturally existing or coexisting within the environment.
So if I listen to that, I hear respect and trust. Would that be accurate?
Yes.
Okay, so, and we'll stop here just because, well, again, time. But normally I would just keep drilling. And usually what happens is when you hit the nerve, when you hit the root, when you hit what's really truly important to that person, they're gonna repeat the answer. If I say, Corey, what's important about respect and trust to you? And he comes back with, respect and trust means this to me, then I know that's where I've got him. I've got to what makes Corey work. So my last question would be, just to make sure I got it, Corey, is there anything more important to you about being a district deputy than having respect and trust with your Grand Knights? And he would probably say, no, I think that's number one. So I would just, I put a big star on it, or I would circle it to make sure he knows that I understand where he's coming from. Does that all make sense to everybody? Again, what you're doing is you're allowing your Grand Knights to tell you why they're a Grand Knight, why they want to be there. Maybe they don't want to be there, but maybe you're helping them determine that, hey, this is where I want to be. This is a good spot for me. Next thing I do on the next page is I would say, well, what are your goals? And not just, that's not going to work. Not just, Supreme's goals, but what are your goals? What is it you want to accomplish? And be open to, they don't have to be Knights of Columbus goals. They can just be personal goals. Maybe there's something you can do as a district deputy that helps just that person grow as a person or grows as a leader. So, Corey, just tell me, give me some goals of yours. Just now, normally in financial planning, some of these goals it could take 15, 20, 25 years to accomplish. But we're probably looking for something to keep it simple for your Grand Knights, something in the next fraternal year. But what kind of goals do you have for yourself, Corey?
Well, a goal I have for myself is that I want to be able to say that I have a follow-on, that I have someone that's
a follow-on?
A follow-on to me.
Okay.
So in other words, that I have, I believe a goal of mine is that somebody to come back behind me after my time or term.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So that is a goal of mine.
Okay. I'll just say follow on, and I'll say that because that's the word he used. Okay. What else would you like to accomplish?
I'd also like to accomplish learning something new. So learning something that, going into the relationship or going into the time with the individual, my goal is I want to say, I learned this or that I either didn't completely understand or I may not have known at all.
Okay. And just because today with time constraints, Corey, do you have any other goals you'd like to accomplish?
Just to be able to say, or to be able to give them enough knowledge with respect, and I don't know how to put this into a concise term, but to be able to say what I'm imparting on them, that I see that acting in their next conversation. So my goal is that something that I have imparted or trained or exposed them to or worked with them, I see them, maybe I'm kind of around the corner and I just happened upon it, and I see them doing something that I did.
So something quantitative?
Yeah,
Something
measurable that I did with that individual, and I now see them putting their own spice in it. Maybe they make goulash, but instead of using cayenne pepper, they put whatever in it and make it their own.
So applying your knowledge.
Yes, applying my knowledge to their next endeavor.
Okay.
Sorry, I
that's okay.
The coffee's reached the brain.
Don't mean to pick on you. So again, you could go through this forever with them. Okay, you could go on and on and on. But what I'm going to ask you to do now, Corey, is because we're talking about this fraternal year, what would be, out of all that, what would be your number one priority?
My number one priority would be, I mean, and I know it's cliche, but to actually change the life of.
Out of these goals here?
Out of those three
Yeah.
things? Oh,
So I'm sorry, I should have clarified that better.
of those three things, I would say learning.
Okay. And so when you say learning, can you just tell me when you'd like to sort of meet that goal? You know, like when you come out of meetings like this, or after sitting down with council members or anything. Do you want it to be an ongoing thing, or is there something specific you're trying to get to?
I think in my case, it's continuous.
Okay.
Because I think that if I put a restriction on it and say, yes, I just want to go from point A where they don't know it to point B where they do know it and then stop, is defeats the purpose. So I want the learning to be a continuous education.
So it's ongoing then?
Yeah.
Okay. If we could pick one more goal today, if we say we had enough time to put something together, something you wanted to accomplish this year, what would you like to do?
From that list?
Yeah, please.
Well, the apply that knowledge.
Okay.
Application.
And again, you go through these with them, ask dates they want to accomplish these by. So the next page is very simple. Okay, in order to accomplish these and to come up with a plan on how to accomplish these, we have to determine where we are today. So Corey, maybe as a grand night, these goals may have been a little bit different. And so what I did on this page is I just talked about where am I today? Where's my council today? And where do I want to be? Where do you want to be at the fraternal year? So I just put our current situation. So I put membership and programs. So maybe we weren't specific enough here just because of time constraints. But you had asked your grand night, where are you guys with membership? And you guys, the best part about this, you already know the answer. You know where your councils are with membership. So this is a good exercise to find out if your grand knights really know what's sort of happening in their council, and you get an honest answer from them. Well, we hit Star Council last year, or we got our membership goals. We came up a little short. You write all that in. Really, what this is all about is asking questions, not telling them what to do, but asking them questions. So I move on to the next page. And steps to reach your goal. And the first one is identify your goals. We've done that. Second thing is prioritize them. We've done that too. And thirdly, where are you now? We've done that. Okay, so that's why all those are all checked off. The next part is a strategic plan. Okay, yes.
There should be an additional one there, evaluating the accomplishments. Was it a good achievement? Or
I haven't missed it if you give me a second.
Pardon me?
I haven't missed it. Give me a second. But
I would do it then after looking at your goals.
Right. So strategic plan. I understand what you're saying. Okay. So now we develop a strategic plan, and that's really just between you and your grand night. What type of plan are you going to put together to help reach these goals? And maybe their goals are going to be, I want to be Star Council. We've never been Star Council. Or last time we were Star Council was 10 years ago, and I think we can do that again this year. All right, great. What do we have to do? And that's where where are you now comes in, reviewing that. Once you put a plan together, and these plans aren't difficult. You guys actually do this already. You sit down, you sort of talk to them, but you want to put something down in writing, something that you can hand somebody and say, this is our plan, John. We developed this together. We're going to do this. So then next is implementing the plan. How do we put these steps into motion? How do we put these steps? How do we develop an action plan for these steps? And finally, maybe, Jerry, this answers your question. Review and monitor the plan. You guys, you have to sit back down with your grand night. You have to go over the plan. You have to show them where they are. Show them where they are in relationship to their goals and their plan. And then make changes along the way. Strategic plan, as George knows, as Chuck would attest to, it's a living, breathing document. Stuff happens, and you have to make changes along the way. I can tell you, this is what I do. This is what I do with my clients, and this is what I do with my Grand Nights. And I sat down with them. Of course, we spent an hour together, not just 10 minutes. But I sat down with each and every one of them, and this is the conversation I had. And it really did bring out things. I'll be honest with you, I didn't think I'd hear. I didn't think I'd hear from guys like Griff, the things I heard coming from Griff. So it's a really good exercise worth doing. I will tell you this. It'd be easy for me in the Treasure Valley, but if any of you want me to have a conversation with you in your Grand Nights, I'll be more than happy to have a conversation. Okay? Because it works. I've done it for almost 30 years as a financial advisor, and I've done it as a member of the Knights of Columbus. And it works because guys are so used to just being told what to do that sometimes it just it turns them off. I think on the last page it talks about what kind of Grand Night do you want to be? These are questions you can ask as well. But I think importantly on the back here is what you can expect from me, what you can expect from your district deputy. So at the beginning of the exercise, you disclose some very personal information, about your goals. And you may wonder what it is you can expect from us. You can expect your district deputy, and the word I always use is partner. I am your partner. I'm not your boss. Now, I know sometimes I get a reputation of being a bit of a hard ass, and I am sometimes. But I can tell you right now that if you asked every one of the Grand Nights I worked with last year, and if you asked them, was Brian your partner, they would 100% say yes. 100% say yes, because I was their partner. Whatever their goals were, that's what I wanted them to accomplish. Now, I would sprinkle in George's message. I would sprinkle in the Supreme Knights message. I would remind them that, these are just things that have to be done. But I'll help you do them because I'm your partner. Chuck has heard this. George has heard this. First meeting I went to in Weiser, opened up my computer, I pulled up the SP7, and I just sat there. And I just listened. My first meeting, just listened to what they did. And I just started filling their SP7. And then, as there were some blanks, I said, hey, have you guys ever done this for pro-life? Oh, yeah, we do. We did the novena. Oh, pop it in. Have you done this? Yeah, we do that. That meeting, after 1 hour, I turned it around. Their SP7 was done. It was done. You just showed them how simple it was. Tom Einek, the Caldwell Grand Night. He didn't have a computer. He doesn't have, you well know, Pat, doesn't have internet. The push phone is still a new invention.
Oh, he knows, he has internet, he doesn't know how to use it.
Yeah. So I drove to his house, and I passed a sign that said, nowhere, entering middle of, when I drove out to his house.
Good luck getting back.
Yeah, but I drove out there with my computer, my hotspot, and he did a safe environment because he didn't have online access. He didn't know how to really go through the book, and the book is very difficult. I mean, it's not easy, and it's confusing, and it doesn't have the same impact as seeing the video, as looking in the eyes of some of these people that are in prison. I mean, we took probably 2 hours to do it because he had a lot of questions. He wouldn't have gotten that from a book. So I went out to his house, and guess what? He got a safe environment done. That's what a district deputy does. It's not like, well, here you go. You should know this. Just go ahead and do it. I learned, Corey, that a lot of these Grand Nights don't really know what to do. They don't know, what's going on. And then lastly, relying on other people. My first month as a district deputy, I realized that every financial secretary and every treasurer was doing it wrong. No one was using warrant vouchers. And so I asked Chuck, Chuck, can you come up and do financial secretary training? I've never dealt a church drive in my life. I never did one. But we needed to do one in Caldwell. We needed to get membership rolling there. So I asked Corey to come over. I'm not going to try and figure it out, but I know Corey's there. He can teach me, and he can teach everybody. So am I running out of time, George?
Yeah.
Okay, go. All right. So so I don't know what you guys think of this. I don't know if you think, at the very least, I think it opens just up a dialogue between you and your grand knight. And I think maybe you can get to know them on a bit more personal level.
That's the word,
You know,
personal.
yeah, so try it, see if it works, and if you have questions, call me. If you want me to come and talk to your grand knights, I'm glad to do it. So, all right, thanks, George.
Thank you very much,
Thank you,
Brian.
Brian.
Thank you.
Brian, is our all-star 2 years in a row. If you can't learn from a better source, good job. Okay, now, we were gonna spend 10 minutes doing face-to-face between pairs of district deputies. And what I'd like to do is pair you guys up and let you do a little bit of time, and then go to lunch. Because it's basically lunchtime, but I wanted you to get your conversation started. So, Skip and Bruce, you're sitting next to each other. Corey and Jerry, could you two?
We'll figure it out.
Dawn and Shane,
Let's flip here to the front seat.
Pat and Brian, and Bart and Roy, since you're right next to each other.
Jerry. Who you get married with?
Corey. You want me to stay here?
Well, not easy.
Well, Jerry and Corey, wherever they want to sit, right there. Yeah, you two talk. You're immediate path. Right. And the one who's more newly appointed, which except in Roy's case, Bart's more newly appointed as far as I'm concerned. Roy has a lot more experience, but everybody else, the newer guy, learned from the more experienced guy. Okay. Thank you.
The topic?
Topic is what do you want to know about your district deputy?
Okay.
All righty.
What do you need to know? What do you want to know about me?
Yeah.
And before your council, there's things that you don't
Guys, I need to stop for you for a second. I was just reminded I didn't tell you how much everything costs. Only district deputies and me. And the state deputy. Okay, so if your spouse is here, it's 25 for dinner for her. If you're district deputy, it's 25 for you. If you're state deputy, it's 25 for you. And then lunch is 15 for the district deputies and me. Everybody else, we're covering you. Okay.
Hey, George, is
Yes.
Supreme
There
giving
is a free
$35 per diem for wives for the trip?
Not, yes.
So announce that too, George.
I will. I already interrupted. Please go back to your discussion.
Yeah.
Idaho Nights Club. Money. You don't. Joe, did you ever get the debit card set up?